Old human mechanic bought a Starship for $3. What he found inside terrified him. Hank squinted against the bright sun bouncing off the dusty metal of the spaceport. His hands, thick and scarred from decades of fixing broken machines, itched to touch something, anything, that had been abandoned. He had spent most of his life repairing engines, welding hulls, and bringing ships back to life. People laughed when they called him the junk whisperer, but Hank didn't mind. He liked broken things. Broken things were honest. They didn't pretend to be more than they were. The auction at the spaceport was mostly a joke. Old ships that had failed inspections, rusted cargo haulers, and experimental craft that no one wanted littered the yard. $3! Someone shouted, pointing at a tiny starship tucked between two massive freighters. $3 and you get a death wish free! Hank raised an eyebrow and walked toward it. The ship was small, maybe the size of a large van, but it had an unusual shape, sleek, curved, and almost organic looking. Its hull was scratched and dented, panels missing, wires sticking out. It looked dead. Most people would have walked away. Hank ran his hand over the cold metal. The auctioneer laughed at him. "You really want that junker, old man? It's not worth the 3 credits, let alone your life."
Hank smiled faintly.
"I'm not buying it to fly it," he said. "I'm buying it to see what's inside." No one understood him. Maybe even Hank didn't fully understand why he was drawn to it. There was something different. Something about the hum beneath the hull. Soft but steady, like a heartbeat. When he finally handed over 3 credits, the crowd snickered. Hank didn't care. He had hauled worse ships home and fixed them before. He had tools. He had experience. And most importantly, he had patience. The hatch was heavy. Rusty hinges groaned as he pushed it open. Inside, the air smelled stale, metallic, and faintly of ozone. Dust floated in shafts of light that cut through the darkness. The cabin was cramped, but Hank noticed immediately that it wasn't empty. The control panel at the front was cracked and scorched, with wires spilling out like veins. He bent down and pressed a finger to the smooth surface. It was cold, almost alive. For a brief moment, he felt a tingle run up his arm. Then, the panel flickered. "Strange," Hank muttered. Panels lit up, softly glowing lines moving across the surface in patterns he didn't recognize. They were not human. He had worked on alien tech before, but this was different. It was precise, intelligent, almost aware. He circled the cockpit, careful not to touch anything too aggressively. The seats were torn, wiring exposed, and a strange liquid stained the floor. Hank crouched and looked closer. The liquid was viscous, dark, and almost reflective like oil, but with a faint shimmer that seemed alive. He said to himself. Not exactly dead yet. Hank stood and examined the main hatch to the ship's interior. It opened smoothly. No creaks, no resistance. That was odd. The ship should have been stuck after decades in the yard, but the hatch slid open like it had been waiting for him. The interior was a maze of narrow corridors, each one lined with panels that pulsed faintly. Symbols, alien and flowing, lit up as he walked past. They shifted and changed, as if the ship were watching him. He shivered. Not from fear exactly. Curiosity, yes. Excitement, certainly. Fear, maybe just a little. Hank paused in front of a chamber door at the rear. It was sealed. The markings around it were more intricate, glowing brighter than the rest. He tapped a panel beside the door. Nothing. He pressed harder. The door hissed, then slid open with a whisper. Inside, suspended in a clear chamber, was something Hank couldn't identify. It was large, pale, and folded in on itself like it was sleeping. Long, delicate limbs curled around a central body, which pulsed faintly with light. Hank stepped back, startled. He had seen alien life before, but this was something else. Something terrifying. He reached out slowly, keeping his hand just above the glass. A pulse of energy ran through the chamber, and Hank staggered back. The ship hummed louder. The lights on the panels danced like lightning. Hank's heart raced. "This isn't just a ship," he muttered. "This is alive." He took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. Old habits kicked in. When he was repairing engines, sometimes they fought back. Sparks flying, pressure valves hissing, metal twisting. He had learned to stay calm. This was similar. A machine that didn't want him here. But maybe, just maybe, one he could understand. Hank moved deeper into the ship. The corridors twisted unnaturally, almost like the ship had grown them. Panels lit as he passed, as if reading his presence. Every step echoed softly, though he alone walked the halls. Occasionally a flicker of light would reveal shapes, furniture, tools, or maybe more alien chambers, before they disappeared in the shadows. He reached the bridge again. The holographic map from the cockpit lit up once more as he stepped onto the platform. Stars appeared, clusters of light far beyond human charts. Some systems were labeled in symbols he didn't recognize. Others flickered as if unstable. One star cluster pulsed more brightly than the others. Hank leaned closer, trying to decipher what the ship was showing. A whisper of a thought brushed his mind. Not words exactly, but a sense, a warning, or maybe a question. Do you understand? Hank blinked. I think I do, he said aloud, laughing nervously at himself. Or maybe not. The thought, or was it the ship, lingered. It was intelligent, beyond anything he had ever seen, and it had chosen to wake, just a little, for him. Suddenly the panels flickered violently. A series of holograms flashed, stars burning, ships exploding, colonies crumbling under attack. Hank stumbled backward, his stomach twisted. This ship had seen destruction, alien destruction. Maybe it had been part of it. Maybe it had caused it. He gripped the console for support. Calm down, Hank. You can handle this. He muttered it to himself like a mantra. He had fixed worse things. He had survived worse. But deep down he knew that this was different. This was not just a broken ship. This was a ship with purpose, with intelligence, and possibly with deadly intent. Hours passed as he explored. He traced wires, opened panels, checked engines that didn't even exist in any human design. His mechanical mind raced. Every tool, every technique he had learned over decades, he applied with care. He understood some of the alien tech by intuition, by patterns he recognized in the wiring and systems. Then he found something more, a small compartment hidden behind a panel near the floor. Inside were personal effects, clothes, data pads, something resembling a diary. He picked up a pad. The language was alien, but images flashed across the screen. Battles, ships, explosions, creatures that defied description. And at the center of it all, a figure resembling the suspended life form, standing atop a destroyed planet. Hank swallowed hard. So, it's not just a ship. It's a carrier, a weapon. The realization settled heavily on him. He could run. He could leave and never look back. Most people would. But Hank was not most people. He had a habit of finishing what he started. He had bought the ship for 3 credits, but he had stumbled onto something far more valuable, or dangerous, than any money could buy. He sat on the edge of the cockpit platform, letting the images from the alien datapad wash over him. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the dusty spaceport in gold and red. The yard was silent. He was alone. But inside the ship, he was not alone. A soft vibration ran through the floor. The ship hummed again, stronger this time, like a heartbeat growing louder. Hank felt it in his chest. The ship was alive, aware, and watching him. He rubbed his eyes. "All right, old man," he muttered. "Let's see what you really are." And as the first stars appeared in the sky above the spaceport, Hank realized that this $3 bargain might be the most important and most dangerous thing he would ever touch. The ship waited, patient, alive, and full of secrets. Hank's adventure was only beginning. The ship was quiet for a moment, but Hank could feel it breathing beneath his feet. The hum, steady before, now pulsed like a warning, vibrating through the floor and up his legs. He stepped carefully down the corridor, gripping a metal railing, eyes darting at every panel and shadow. The air smelled faintly metallic, tinged with ozone, and it made his stomach twist. Hank wasn't scared. Not entirely, but he was cautious. Decades of fixing broken machines had taught him one thing. Curiosity was powerful, but danger was real. This ship was more than a machine. It was intelligent, and judging by the holographic images he had seen, it had witnessed death, possibly caused it. He approached the chamber at the back again, the one that held the suspended alien life form. It hovered in a transparent cylinder, still and pale, with limbs folded tightly against its body. Its faint glow pulsed with a rhythm that matched the ship's hum. Hank swallowed and studied it carefully. He had seen alien life before, but this creature, it was unlike anything in the human database. The chamber's glass was cool under his touch, smooth and strong. The creature shifted slightly, but not enough to break its posture. Hank noticed something even stranger. The symbols on the walls around the chamber began to glow brighter as he moved closer. Lines of alien script twisted and shifted, forming patterns he didn't understand, but somehow he felt like the patterns were trying to communicate. He crouched beside the chamber, inspecting the life form more closely. Its skin was pale, almost translucent, with faint veins glowing like thin threads of light. Its limbs were long, delicate, and seemed fragile. But when he traced the outline of its body, he felt a subtle tension, a hidden strength. Hank couldn't explain it, but he knew this creature was powerful, dangerous. Suddenly, a low vibration ran through the floor. Hank stumbled back, pressing against the railing. The lights in the corridor flickered, and a panel beside the chamber hissed, opening slightly as if the ship itself had breathed. A soft voice, or maybe a thought, entered his mind. Not words exactly, but images. Fire, destruction, ships exploding. Hank's heart raced. He stepped back from the chamber.
"All right, calm down," he muttered.
His hands shook slightly as he rubbed them together. "You're just a machine. And you're just a thing. You don't scare me." But the ship had other plans. Panels along the corridor lit up, showing schematics he didn't recognize. Lines moved like lightning, circuits forming paths he had never seen in human design. Drones, small and sleek, activated from hidden compartments, floating in the air with red sensors glowing. They swiveled toward him, mechanical limbs twitching. Hank's eyes narrowed. He had dealt with rogue drones before, and he knew instinctively that panicking would be a mistake. He reached into his tool belt, pulling out a multi-wrench and a small electromagnetic disruptor he had modified years ago. The drones reacted instantly to his movements, hovering closer, scanning him. He took a deep breath and stepped sideways, letting the ship's corridors guide him like a puzzle. Every turn, every panel, every glowing line seemed alive, observing him. He could feel the ship testing him, seeing if he belonged, and deep down he realized that it might not want him here. Or maybe it did, in its own alien way. Hank found a panel on the wall that seemed slightly different from the others. He pressed it, and the panel slid open, revealing a small storage compartment. Inside were alien tools, small devices he couldn't identify, and a data pad glowing softly. He picked it up carefully, scanning its interface. Symbols shifted as he touched them, forming sequences that almost made sense. Almost. The pad displayed images, flashes of worlds burning, fleets of alien ships in battle, and a figure that resembled the life form in the chamber, standing at the center of destruction. Hank felt a chill run down his spine. This thing, this creature, it's dangerous. A sudden vibration shook the floor. Hank lost his balance, catching himself on the nearest wall. The chamber glass rattled. The life form twitched, a long limb stretching slightly. Its glow brightened, pulsing faster, more urgently. Hank realized the creature was waking. Slowly, deliberately, it unfurled its limbs.
"Easy, easy,"
Hank whispered. "I'm not here to hurt you." But the creature didn't answer. Its eyes, if they could be called eyes, opened slowly. They were dark, vast, and seemed to see everything at once. Hank froze. He had stared into alien eyes before, but these were ancient, intelligent, terrifying. The life form shifted in its suspension, and the ship groaned. Panels flickered, and the lights in the corridors stuttered like lightning. The drones reacted immediately, forming a semicircle between Hank and the chamber. He was trapped, at least temporarily. Hank's mind raced. He had two choices: run or stay and figure this out. Running could trigger the ship to respond violently. Staying meant facing an unknown threat, possibly hostile. He had faced danger before: rogue engines, collapsing hulls, asteroid collisions, but nothing like this. He stepped slowly toward the chamber, keeping his hands visible. "Look, I don't want trouble," he said. The life form's glowing veins pulsed in response, almost like it understood. Or maybe it was analyzing him. Hank didn't know. He studied the chamber controls, trying to find a way to communicate. Alien symbols flickered on the panel, but a small hint of logic remained in the sequences. Using intuition and decades of mechanical experience, he pressed and twisted switches, mimicking the patterns he had seen. The life form reacted subtly. Its glow dimmed slightly. The pulses slowed. Hank realized something important. This wasn't just a ship. It was alive, and it had rules, patterns. A system that could be understood if he was patient. Hours passed as he experimented, carefully testing the chamber controls, watching the life form's reactions. Slowly, a tentative understanding formed. The ship wasn't trying to kill him. It was cautious, and the life form wasn't attacking. It was assessing. Hank felt a flicker of hope. Then the ship's hum deepened, vibrating through the floor and walls. A hidden compartment opened with a hiss, revealing a panel filled with alien schematics. He crouched beside it, studying the diagrams. Engines, weapons, propulsion systems, technology far beyond anything humans had built. He traced the lines with his fingers, imagining how the systems worked. The realization hit him like a punch. This ship, it's a weapon, he whispered. A damn powerful one. Another vibration ran through the ship, stronger this time. Panels flickered wildly. The life form pulsed in rhythm with the lights. Hank's stomach twisted. He had touched something beyond human understanding, something capable of destruction on a galactic scale. And yet, it had let him live. Hank's mind raced. Could he control it? Could he tame it? He had fixed rogue engines before, made dead ships fly again. He had patched broken shields, repaired systems no one thought could be saved. Maybe, just maybe, he could understand this. He moved to the cockpit again, sitting in the pilot's chair. The holographic star map activated, showing distant systems. Alien symbols shifted, forming patterns he could follow. Lines connecting stars in ways that made sense to him. His fingers danced across the panels, feeling the ship's heartbeat. Then came the warning. A vision flashed in his mind. Fleets of ships exploding, colonies burning, the life form at the center of chaos. Hank gasped, pulling back. This ship, this creature, had been involved in galactic destruction. He clenched his fists. "I can't let that happen again," he muttered. "I won't." The life form pulsed, almost approvingly. The ship hummed, quieter now, like it had heard him. Hank realized that for the first time, he wasn't just a passenger. He was part of the ship. The life form, the systems, even the drones, they were testing him, waiting. Hank leaned back in the chair, exhausted but focused. He had faced danger before. He had faced machines that wanted to kill him. But this was alive. And yet, he felt a spark of excitement. This ship, terrifying as it was, could be an ally if he could prove himself. He stood, taking one last look at the suspended life form. Its eyes, vast and dark, seemed to follow him. Hank swallowed. He knew he had to go deeper, explore the ship further, and uncover all its secrets. Because one thing was certain: whatever this ship was, whatever the life form was, they were not ordinary. And Hank, old human mechanic though he was, had just become the most important person on board. The corridors pulsed with light, the ship alive beneath his feet, and Hank took a deep breath. He had entered a world of unknown technology, ancient intelligence, and terrifying possibilities. But for the first time in years, he felt truly alive. The adventure had only begun, and the terror within the ship was far from over. Hank sat in the cockpit, staring at the glowing star map. The ship hummed beneath him, alive and aware. Every panel, every wire, every pulse seemed to be studying him. The life form in the chamber had shifted during the night, unfurling its limbs slightly, its glowing veins tracing complex patterns across its body. Hank could feel its attention, intense, intelligent, and dangerous. He had spent hours yesterday trying to understand the alien systems. At first, it had been chaos. Panels lighting up unpredictably, drones reacting violently to his presence, and the life form pulsing in a way that sent shivers down his spine. But gradually, patterns emerged. The ship's intelligence wasn't random. It had rules, logic, and a hierarchy. And Hank, decades of fixing impossible machines in his old human way, could read it. Hank reached out and touched a control panel. Lights danced across his fingertips, responding to his touch. He traced wires and pressed switches, instinctively mimicking the sequences he had studied. Slowly, the ship began to stabilize. Drones that had swarmed him hours earlier now hovered calmly at the edges of the corridor. The hum softened, and the life form pulsed in sync with the ship's rhythm. "This might actually work," Hank muttered to himself. "I can control it." But he knew better than to be careless. Alien technology, no matter how much he could understand it, was still dangerous. One wrong move and the ship could turn on him, or worse, unleash the life form. Hank decided to test his new control carefully. He moved to the chamber where the alien creature rested. The chamber door hissed open, and the creature's limbs shifted as it followed his movements. Hank spoke aloud, though he doubted it understood words. "I'm not your enemy," he said. "I just want to understand." A flicker of light ran across the creature's body. The pulsing slowed. Hank's fingers traced the control panel beside the chamber, activating the life form's containment protocols. He adjusted the fields, watching closely as it responded. The creature remained calm, almost cooperative, its massive eyes observing him. "Good," Hank said softly. "We can work together." The ship hummed in approval. Panels along the corridor displayed schematics he had not seen before. Weapon systems, defensive shields, propulsion engines that defied known physics. Hank's eyes widened. This was not just a ship. This was a war machine. And it had been sitting idle for decades waiting for someone capable enough to understand it. Hank's mind raced. If he could learn to control it, he could protect human colonies. Maybe even give humanity a chance against the unknown alien fleets. But first, he had to ensure the life form remained cooperative. Hours turned into a full day as Hank worked, learning the ship's systems. He patched circuits, rerouted energy flows, and synchronized the life form's neural patterns with the ship's controls. Each success boosted his confidence, but each failure reminded him of the danger. Then came the first test. A holographic alert flickered in the cockpit. An unknown ship approaching, weapons charging. Hank's heart raced. He didn't know if the alien vessel was hostile or curious, but there was no time to hesitate. He reached out, instinctively activating the ship's defensive systems. Energy shields rose, panels flickered, and drones lined the corridors like sentries. The approaching ship fired, a beam of light that would have shattered a normal human craft in seconds. But the shields held. Hank felt the pulse of the ship respond to him, almost like it was fighting alongside him. He grinned, adrenaline surging. "Not bad for an old man," he muttered. The alien ship retreated, scanning and probing, but the human-controlled warship held firm. Hank realized something incredible. He had just defended against a technologically superior alien vessel, using nothing but intuition, experience, and the ship itself. "This is amazing," he whispered.
"Humans, we can do this."
The life form in the chamber pulsed rhythmically, almost approvingly. Hank approached it again, placing a hand on the containment glass. For the first time, he felt a connection, not just control, but understanding. The creature wasn't just a weapon. It was intelligent, aware, and capable of cooperation. Hank spoke softly. "We can help each other. You protect the ship. I'll guide it. We can keep humans safe." The creature's glow brightened. Its limbs extended gracefully, and Hank noticed subtle changes in the chamber's energy fields. The synchronization he had worked on was working. The life form was responding to him, not just to the ship's systems, but to him personally. Hours passed as he continued refining the connection. He tested weapon systems, defensive shields, and propulsion engines. Each success reinforced his belief that humans, even an old mechanic like him, could master this alien technology. His ingenuity, patience, and understanding of machinery allowed him to do what no one else could: turn terror into advantage. Then came the unexpected challenge. A series of holographic images flashed before him. An incoming fleet of alien ships, hundreds strong, each vessel equipped with weapons far beyond human standards. Hank felt a twinge of fear, but it was tempered by determination. This was why he had to master the ship. Humanity might be underestimated, but underestimating him was a mistake no one would make again. He activated the ship's navigation systems, plotting an evasive course through nearby asteroid fields. The life form's pulse quickened, and drones repositioned, creating a defensive perimeter. Hank felt the ship respond to his decisions almost instantaneously. Every maneuver he commanded was executed with precision, as if the ship itself were alive, anticipating the enemy's moves. The first attack came swiftly. Alien energy beams sliced through space, targeting the warship with lethal intent. Hank held his breath as the shields absorbed the impact, ripples of energy dancing across the hull. The life form pulsed, and Hank realized he could amplify its energy output to strengthen the shields. He focused, channeling the ship's power with every ounce of his experience. The shields flared brightly, deflecting the attack. The enemy ship fired again, and again the shields held. Hank grinned, a spark of excitement igniting inside him. "We've got this," he whispered. "We've got this." Then he saw an opening, a flaw in the enemy formation. Using the ship's advanced propulsion, he maneuvered to the side, dodging beams of energy with intuitive precision. The life form pulsed in harmony with his movements, enhancing speed and agility beyond human capabilities. Hank activated the ship's countermeasures, and drones surged forward, striking the enemy vessel's weak points. Explosions lit up the void, and the alien ship faltered, forced to retreat. Hank felt a surge of triumph. He had done it. Humans, underestimated for centuries, had just bested a superior alien force. But Hank didn't celebrate yet. He knew the battle was just beginning. The fleet was still out there, and his knowledge of alien technology was incomplete. He had to push further, understand more, and prepare for what was coming. He returned to the lifeform's chamber. Its glow was steady now, almost calm. Hank smiled, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it," he said softly. Together. The ship hummed in agreement. Panels displayed new schematics, revealing hidden systems he hadn't noticed before. Advanced propulsion modules, weapon systems, and even a defensive field capable of masking the ship from sensors. Hank's mind raced with possibilities. Humanity, with this ship, could survive against threats previously unimaginable. He spent the next few hours integrating the systems, synchronizing his controls with the lifeform's neural patterns. Every adjustment brought them closer together. The ship's intelligence was no longer just a threat. It was an ally. And Hank, old human mechanic though he was, had become its guide. By the end of the day, Hank sat in the cockpit, staring at the holographic star map. The life form pulsed beside him, calm and watchful. The drones floated silently, ready to respond. And Hank knew one thing with certainty: humans might be underestimated, weak in the eyes of the galaxy, but with courage, ingenuity, and determination, they could turn even terror itself into triumph. A soft vibration ran through the floor, the ship's heartbeat steady and strong. Hank's hands rested on the controls, a smile on his face. All right, he said. Let's see what we can really do. The stars stretched out before him, endless and full of possibility. The alien fleet might still be out there, waiting, but Hank had the ship, the life form, and his own human intuition. And together, they were ready to face whatever came next. For the first time, Hank felt the truth of it. Humans were clever, adaptable, unstoppable when they refused to give in. He had turned fear into power, terror into strategy, and uncertainty into hope. The galaxy had underestimated him, and humanity for the last time. The adventure was far from over. But Hank, old human mechanic, now commander of a living warship, was ready, and for the first time he felt truly unstoppable. Hank sat in the cockpit, the pulse of the ship beneath him steady and strong. The life form, now fully awake, glowed softly in its chamber. Its long limbs stretched gracefully, the veins of light tracing intricate patterns that seemed almost like a heartbeat in sync with the ship. Hank had learned its rhythms, its reactions, and its hidden potential. He understood finally that he was no longer just a passenger, he was a partner. The star map flickered, displaying hundreds of systems in unfamiliar configurations. Some were completely uncharted, others shimmered faintly like warnings. And at the edge of the map, a massive formation of alien ships appeared, a fleet far larger than the one he had faced before. Hank's jaw tightened. This was the real threat. The ones he had encountered were just scouts. He took a deep breath. "All right, old man," he muttered to himself, gripping the controls. "Let's show them what humans can do." The lifeform pulsed in response, and Hank felt the ship shift beneath him. It wasn't just alive. It was eager, ready to respond. He had spent days learning its systems, testing its reactions, synchronizing his intuition with its logic. Now, they were one. Hank activated the propulsion systems. The ship surged forward with astonishing speed, dodging sensors and weaving through asteroid fields like a living creature. Alien drones flanked them, scanning and firing, but the warship's shields absorbed each impact, stronger and more responsive than anything the aliens had likely expected. "Not bad for a $3 investment," Hank whispered, grinning despite the tension. The first wave of the alien fleet came into range. Energy beams sliced through space, targeting the ship. Hank reacted instinctively, adjusting the lifeform's neural output to boost the shields. Sparks danced along the hull, but the ship remained intact. Drones surged forward, intercepting incoming missiles with precision. Hank's hands moved over the controls with confidence. This was no longer trial and error. He had mastered the ship. He had turned terror into advantage. Every maneuver, every adjustment, every pulse of energy flowed in harmony with the life form. Together they were unstoppable. The enemy ship fired again, this time with concentrated volleys. Hank tilted the ship, spinning through the void like a dancer. The shields flared with each hit, absorbing the energy and redirecting it toward the ship's own countermeasures. Drones struck with pinpoint accuracy, disabling key systems on the enemy vessels. Explosions bloomed in the void, illuminating the darkness like fireworks. Hank felt a thrill surge through him. Humans were supposed to be weak, fragile, easy to underestimate. And yet, here he was, an old mechanic, controlling a warship alive with alien intelligence, defeating enemies that had laughed at humanity. "This is for all the humans who ever got underestimated," he muttered, a grim smile on his face. The lifeform's glow intensified, almost like it understood. Its limbs extended in a fluid, graceful motion, and Hank realized it could project energy directly. He adjusted the controls, allowing the lifeform to focus its power. Beams of light erupted from the ship, cutting through enemy hulls with surgical precision. Alien vessels erupted in fiery clouds, their attacks halted before they could reach human colonies. Hank laughed, the sound echoing in the cockpit. "We're just getting started." Hours passed in a blur of strategy, energy pulses, and precise maneuvers. The alien fleet underestimated the ship. They assumed it was just a derelict, a relic of an old war. They had no idea an old human mechanic had turned it into a weapon far beyond their expectations. As the battle raged, Hank discovered something extraordinary. Hidden systems within the ship, ones he had not seen before, revealed a method to cloak the vessel entirely. He activated it, and the ship vanished from all sensors. The fleet searched, beams scanning the darkness, but they could not find him. Hank leaned back in his chair, catching his breath. "Sometimes brains beat brawn," he muttered, smiling. The life form pulsed gently, almost approvingly. Then came the decisive moment. One massive alien cruiser, larger and more heavily armed than any Hank had faced, appeared ahead. It was the flagship, and it glowed with a menacing red light. Hank knew that if he could neutralize this ship, the rest of the fleet would retreat. He studied the enemy's patterns, noting weak points in its energy flow. The lifeform pulsed in rhythm with his thoughts, as if guiding him. With careful precision, he maneuvered closer, dodging energy beams and gravitational traps. Every adjustment required intuition, skill, and trust in the ship. Hank activated the lifeform's energy projection directly, focusing it on the cruiser's critical points. Beams of pulsing light struck the hull, disabling shields and engines in seconds. The cruiser's energy output surged, but Hank anticipated it. He adjusted the shields, absorbing the blast and redirecting it toward the enemy. With a final surge, he released a coordinated attack. Drones, energy beams, and lifeform projections all striking simultaneously. The cruiser exploded in a magnificent cloud of fire and debris, the force rippling through space. The remaining fleet, seeing their flagship destroyed, faltered and retreated. Hank exhaled, relief washing over him. The battle was over. Humans had survived. He had survived, and against all odds they had triumphed. The ship hummed softly, as if acknowledging the victory. Hank walked to the lifeform's chamber, placing a hand on the glass. Its glow was calm, steady, and almost affectionate. He smiled. "We did it," he said. "Together." For the first time, Hank allowed himself to relax. He had faced terror, controlled it, and turned it into triumph. He had taken what was terrifying and unknown, mastered it, and used it to protect humanity. But the adventure was not over. The star map displayed countless uncharted systems, worlds full of mysteries and possibilities. With the lifeform as an ally and the ship's advanced technology under his command, Hank realized that humans had an opportunity they had never had before. He activated the ship's long-range scanners, discovering habitable planets, alien artifacts, and systems rich with resources. Each discovery was a chance to expand human knowledge, to explore, and to thrive. He smiled at the thought. Humanity, underestimated and often dismissed, now had a chance to reach the stars in ways they had never imagined. Hank spent the next days exploring the ship, learning every system, every nuance of its capabilities. The lifeform followed him willingly now, its presence comforting rather than threatening. They became partners, humans and alien intelligence working together. He discovered alien technologies that could revolutionize human industry. Propulsion systems faster than light, energy sources clean and limitless, shields capable of withstanding the most powerful weapons. And yet, Hank approached each system with care. Knowledge without understanding was dangerous. He had learned that lesson the hard way. As he explored, he realized that the ship itself had been waiting for someone like him. Not a soldier, not a politician, not a scientist, just a human capable of thinking, adapting, and creating solutions. Someone underestimated but clever enough to survive and thrive. Hank set a course for an uncharted system, eager to explore, to learn, and to expand humanity's reach. The lifeform pulsed beside him, a companion and guardian. Drones patrolled the corridors ready to respond to any threat. And Hank, old human mechanic, had become something more than he ever imagined, a pioneer, a protector, and a symbol of human ingenuity. He looked out at the endless stars, stretching like diamonds across the blackness of space. A sense of wonder filled him. Humans had always been small in the galaxy, fragile in the eyes of other civilizations. But Hank had proven something profound. Courage, intelligence, and determination could turn even the weakest into the strongest. He smiled to himself. "They'll never underestimate us again," he said softly. The ship hummed in agreement, lights pulsing gently. Together they soared into uncharted space, exploring new worlds, discovering new civilizations, and writing a new chapter for humanity. Hank leaned back in the cockpit, exhausted but content. He had faced terror, mastered it, and turned it into triumph. He had discovered that humans were capable of far more than they, or anyone else, realized. And as the stars stretched before him, endless and full of possibility, Hank knew this was only the beginning. Humanity, clever, brave, and unstoppable, had taken its first real step into the greater galaxy, and Hank, the old human mechanic, had been the one to lead the way.